Hey everybody, my name's Jeremy. I was contacted by Fight Addiction Now. They asked me to make a little video for you to share my story, and so that's what I'm going to be doing today. I just want to start off by saying that I'm grateful to be in this situation, to be able to share my story with you, to still be talking today, because not too long ago I didn't think I would be in this position at all. If I would have been half of where I am now, I would have been extremely happy. So, just to show you what sobriety can bring you, I'm going to go through a little bit of my story. I don't want to keep you too long, so I'm going to try to do my best to uh, consolidate things and make it brief. So, with that being said, I'll get started. My childhood was an average childhood. My dad worked at Ford. My mom stayed at home until we were old enough to take care of ourselves. And she took care of us, and then went to work once we were older. Both parents were around. No abuse. I had everything that I needed and most of what I wanted. Childhood, yeah, it was pretty good. I can't complain about any of it at all. I started drinking when I was 15. It was the group of people that I was hanging out with. It was something that we did, on a weekend here or there. Um, and I knew from the first time that I got drunk that that I probably enjoyed it a little bit too much. And Even though I got extremely sick, I was excited for the next time to do it. That was all I was thinking about was getting drunk again, and the thrill of it, and just everything. I became a different person, and it was a person that I thought I wanted to be, somebody that I was striving to be. So I was somewhat of a shy kid. Didn't have a ton of friends, but when I started drinking, all of a sudden I didn't care. I had no inhibitions, and and I was able to talk to people that I normally wouldn't, and I thought that that I was this person that everybody loved, and I could talk all the shit that I wanted because I had that liquid courage. And so right from the get go, it took a hold of me, and it became my personality. It became who I was that person that I was when I was drunk, was the person that I searched to be, and that I wanted to be every day. Um, so I very quickly I couldn't socialize hardly without alcohol. I didn't want to socialize without alcohol, because I thought that person was boring. He didn't know how to talk to people. He wasn't outgoing. The person that I was when I was drunk, though, was amazing and could, get through any situation, and everybody loved him and laughed at him. And so that's what I wanted to be every night. And I would go to my job during the day, and then I was waiting tables. That's what I've done pretty much my whole life. So drinking is very acceptable in that. in that workplace. Well, not at work, but with after work, everybody goes to unwind. You've been waiting on people all day, and you wanted to be waited on, and so we would go and party, and then shortly after, the drinking started, I was introduced to drugs. Not too young. Well, I don't know. I guess it depends on your perception of young, but I was 18 when I started doing ecstasy, and I was introduced to cocaine and weed. And the ecstasy was, I was in love with that. Talk about being a whole different person. But it was, there was never enough. I was always focused on getting more drugs, and once I started, I never wanted to stop. I never wanted to come down from that high, and unfortunately every night I would, but I would spend so much money just trying to stay up high, and not have to be that sober person that I was. And um so from um 18 until about 20, my mid 20s, it was, I was partying all the time. It was a social thing. I was into the party, drugs, cocaine, and ecstasy, and drinking. And to me, it was just, I was just young, and it was something to do, that's something that I was going to grow out of. Something that it was just a phase. This is what young people do. They party, and and I was good at it. I was really good at it. um and I enjoyed being good at it. So through my mid 20s, it was just a nonstop party. And then I decided that, so no, I didn't. I started having back problems, and I went to the doctor, and they found out that I had spinal stenosis, through the process of first being prescribed painkillers, and then going to physical therapy, and then finally getting an MRI to find out what was wrong with me. But by the time they had figured it out, I was already well into the painkillers, and finishing my prescriptions way before the month was up. And then in turn I had to start going to the streets to buy them, because I would detox if I didn't. And I needed that feeling every day. I didn't want to go through a minute of a day without being high, from opiates, or any drug. But eventually it got to the point where I needed the opiates to maintain. Without them, I was sick. I had no energy, and I didn't like that person, the sober person. I couldn't stand being that person, because it meant I had to deal with my problems, and I couldn't just hide from them under this facade. Um, and so I started getting really bad into the opiates, and I was buying Oxycontins on the street. While after I went through my prescription, I was also shopping for doctors. I was calling, and making same day appointments at other doctors' offices, and convincing them to write me prescriptions, until my doctor found out about that, and I had to sign an agreement to say that I wouldn't do that anymore, or she would cut me off. And I was showing signs of addiction, insane signs of addiction. I was always calling to get my prescriptions refilled early. I was shopping around for doctors that she knew about. I was always asking for more, and they never did anything. I don't blame the doctors, but I was definitely shown every sign of an addict, and they did nothing to intervene. Um, so Eventually the oxys started taking over, and I was basically working just to buy drugs. Um, and I wasn't making enough. I could never make enough money to support my drug habit. Because whatever I made, I would do. I didn't save anything. I didn't plan for a rainy day. When I made my tips at the end of the night, I spent it all on drugs, minus the gas money that I needed to get to my drug dealer's house. Um, so, um, so the money ran out. I wasn't making enough at work, so I started stealing from work, by overcharging people's credit card tips, and they caught onto that real quick, and I got fired. So now I'm out of a job and an income, and I'm hopping around from place to place. No, I had no residence. No, I never knew where I was gonna be. Uh, if I was gonna be kicked out. What was gonna happen. So I lost my job. I lost my vehicle because I sold it to my drug dealer so I could have more money for drugs. And then that money ran out, and I still had no job, and I was just deep into my addiction, and so I decided that I was gonna rob a pharmacy, and that was not one of the brightest ideas that I've ever had, but I was sick, and I didn't want to be, and I was gonna do whatever I had to do to not be sick. Um, so I robbed a pharmacy, and I had a note that said I had a weapon, and for them to give me all of the oxycontins, and I ended up with a bunch of different types of painkillers. Doesn't matter. Left the store. I was on foot, and I was running through the woods, and they ended up catching me. And here I am at 30 years old. The last time I got in any trouble, I was 20, and I got a DUI. I got a misdemeanor when I was 20, and now I am 30, looking at prison, for armed robbery, because of my addiction. I went through the court process. I ended up signing an agreement to do 3.5 to 10 years in prison, and I thought I was getting off good. I was armed robbery. I only have to do 3.5 years. I mean, it could have been a lot worse. And I had a court-appointed garbage lawyer. But I went in for my sentencing, and the judge saw that I had a drug problem. I didn't take any money. I wasn't worried about anything but getting the drugs, and they were for my personal use. Like, I wasn't planning on selling any of them. And she knew that. She saw that, and ended up sending me to a jail-based rehab program instead. So I did 3 months in jail and 3 months in a halfway house, and then I was on probation, as opposed to 3 years in prison. And it was I was so grateful for that. But it's not the end of my story. It wasn't even close. At this point, I was 30, and I got out, and I'm still going from place to place. I was dating a girl, using her for a place to sleep, and I got sick of that, and ended up staying at a friend's house, on his couch for a while, and I had started drinking again, and then I met somebody that was selling Vicodin at work again, and started taking pills, and then went back and forth with that, detoxing, and and going back to that lifestyle, and then detoxing again, and then starting to drink, and then it was just, I had to be in some sort of altered state of mind. I couldn't be sober. I just couldn't. I hated it. And then and then I couldn't get any more pills. It was just starting to cost too much. But I found out that I could get heroin, and it would save me a lot of money. Um so I did, and I started snorting it, until one of my friends turned me on to the fact that if I injected it, it would be a lot better. That my drugs would go a lot further. So I did. I let him shoot me up, and that was 8 years ago, and it was the longest 8 years of my life. Countless times I um had to go back to my parents' house to detox, and all the while they're trying to do everything that they think is right, and but what I needed was to be locked away. I needed for them to turn their backs on me, but they never did, and I don't blame them. That's my family. They loved me, and they were wanted to do what was best for me. And I just took advantage of it, and I never appreciated anything anybody ever did for me. So I got on, started IVing heroin, and I couldn't hold a job, because I never knew if I was gonna be sick or not. Because even though it was cheaper, I still spent everything that I made on drugs. Everything. Um, Once again, I'm not paying rent now. And nobody wants to be around me except the one person that I can get to, that's getting high with me. So my life is just spiraling out of control. I'm 30 years old, and now probably like 31, 32, and I never experienced this before. Like, I had some trouble with alcohol, and the party drugs, but it never took control of me like opiates and heroin did. And it's just spiraling out of control so fast, and I didn't know what to do. I would get sober here and there, put a couple months together, get a job back, get people off my back, and then I would start drinking again, and then and then eventually, with my inhibitions lowered, and my decision making horrible, I would end up doing drugs again, and my the problem was is that I never thought that I had a problem with alcohol, because I never got in trouble. I never detoxed off alcohol. It never really cost me a job like heroin was doing. But I never went from sober to shooting up. I never went right back to the needle. There was always alcohol leading me to that. And it took me 8 years to realize that alcohol was a fucking problem, that I couldn't drink. And I hated it because I enjoyed drinking, and I had a lot of fun doing it. But once I learned how to play that tape through, and saw where things started and then where they ended, I realized that alcohol does not work for me. I may not start getting high right away. I may go 6 months of drinking, and everything will be fine. But one day, I'm going to be in the wrong spot and I'm going to make a wrong decision. And I've proven it to myself time and time again, but I always thought like that I always thought I was smarter than alcohol. I always thought I was smarter than my addiction, and I could beat it this time. And those short bursts of sobriety where I would get everything back it was fuel to it was fuel to fool me into this belief that I could handle alcohol, because I would stay sober for a little bit longer each time, so I would think, well, now I've got a little bit more time sober, so I'll be able to figure it out. And I always thought that getting a job back and getting everybody off my back was what it was all about. That's what getting sober was about. um, but this time around, um, thank thankful to a 12-step program and therapy, I've realized who I really am. Um, and without that therapy and the steps, I don't know where I'd be today. I had to, I had to. I had to come to this realization of who I was, and that was scary to me because I thought I knew who I was. I thought I had this, personality. I thought I figured who I was, but that was just the person that I was trying to be, and the drugs that's not who I was. So now here I am at 38 years old, faced with the fact that I don't even know who I am, and I'm gonna like create this personality for myself. So it was really scary. But I got to the point where I was more scared of going back to that same lifestyle than I was of change. And it wasn't until I got to that point that I could do something about my life, and I realized that without change, I was destined to die, and it was gonna be a horrible life that I was gonna live. And I just I couldn't accept that anymore. um I wanted more for myself, and I was just so my life was so out of balance because I wanted one thing. I wanted this life where I can help people, and where I can give back and show people that there is hope. But all my actions were of this drug addict, of this person that didn't give a shit about anything except for getting high in himself. So my whole life was just out of balance, and it was a miserable place to be because I wanted one thing, and all my actions were the exact opposite. You know, and through working um in this 12-step program, I have seen my true capabilities, and I've learned to forgive myself for who I was in the past. I did the best that I could with what I knew. And then when I knew better, I did better. And I can't look back at that person now through sober eyes and judge them like that. I have to forgive that person that I was, and and I have to move on because I am not that person anymore. And I refuse to be a failure. A lot there's a few words that I can't stand, especially when it comes to just being a human being, and also being in recovery. Once failure, I don't believe in failure. As long as I'm alive and have the opportunity to try to attempt something, I'll never be a failure. Um, because I won't quit. If there's something that I want, I won't fail. I may not achieve something as well as I thought I would, but I will not fail. Another one is perfection and perfect. It's stupid. It's unachievable. It shouldn't even be a thought. There is no such thing as perfect when it comes to being a human being, and it comes to being in recovery. But I do the best that I can every single day, and my best changes from day to day. Some days I don't feel good. Some days I can't do the same that I did the day before, but I can lay down at night and know that I did the best that I could every single day. So yeah, those two words I just, and another word that I don't really care for is mistakes, because you know I I look at everything as a lesson. I don't see mistakes. I see lessons that I've learned from. I've figured out lots of ways not to stay sober, and it's helped me to get to the point where I am today. And so I haven't made mistakes, and I don't know what's good and bad. I don't. Some of the things in the moment that look like the worst situation in the world have led me to where I am today. So that just goes to show me that I don't know what the fuck is going on. um but I know that it's all meant to happen, and it's all happening for a reason, and I can see that through my past. I would, at the time, you don't think getting arrested is something that's good, but if I hadn't gotten arrested after my last relapse, I would have been dead on the streets, because it was winter time and I was being kicked out of where I lived and nobody wanted me. Um so being arrested turned out to be one of the best things that's ever happened to me. So I don't know what's good and bad. I just know that I have to go through the life, and I have to give everything that I have to do what I feel is right. And at the end of the day, um, as long as I'm satisfied with how I spent that day, and and who I am at the end of that day, like that's all that I can do. Um so I just celebrated a year clean and sober on February 9th, and the things that I've accomplished in this year are more than I've accomplished in since I've been an adult. From 18 to 38, in the last 20 years, I haven't accomplished anything close to what I've accomplished in this last year. I'm going back to school, so I can become a therapist and work in a drug and alcohol rehabilitation. I'm an active member of my community. I get involved with. I'm starting to get involved with some organizations that help people coming back into the community from like prison and addiction, reintegration into society, and people trust me again. People care about me. Not that they stopped caring about me, but they can care about me up close now instead of far away like they used to have to do. Um, and it's been a miracle what how my life has turned around. I am a published author now. I have a poem that's been published in a book. The professors at my college um want me to take they're requesting me to take their classes, um and uh and I'm about to be in the English Honor Society. Like, this is stuff that I never thought was possible in my life. Um that that shows that is proof gives proof to that saying, "Don't quit before the miracle happens." I'm not a fan of all the cliches, but I always thought getting a job back and getting people off my back and getting an apartment, like that was all that there was to sobriety. Like that was it. Um, had I known back then what I know now, holy shit, I would have got sober a long time ago, because these miracles, it's not just like one miracle. It's not just like you get like this okay life back. Like shit happens every day, and it's beautiful. It's amazing what miracles, these promises that have come true in my life. And if I can go from a barely a human being that was robbing old ladies of their purses, and just the lowest, I was the lowest of the low, um to what I am today, an outstanding member of society, to an A student. um Anybody can accomplish this. I refuse to give up. As long as I'm breathing, I'm fighting. And I will never ever stop. Um, so I'm gonna stop here. I could go on for a lot, lot longer. Um, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. If you want to know more about my story, feel free to contact me on Facebook. My name is Jeremy Hurt. Send me a message, and we can discuss anything more that you'd like. And I just pray and hope that every one of you gets the chance to experience life like I have, because you can. It's possible. I'm not special. I'm really not. There's nothing special about me. I just got lucky. I got really fucking lucky. And I refuse to give up because of that. I'm done spitting in everyone's face that cared about me. And I appreciate life today, and that's, yeah, it's just it's a miracle. So thank you for sitting through this bit of my story. I hope it helped. And like I said, if you have any questions, or you just want to talk more, you know where to find me. Thank you.